sexploitation, intimate image abuse and blackmail, specifically via dating apps. So something that happens to a lot of men online, but I feel like you don't hear about it too much about what happens to the men. So Daragh Fleming, author, freelance writer and mental health advocate from Cork, thanks a million for joining me.
Happy to be here, talking about me Mickey again, also.
I'm going to just maybe let you warm up a little bit and chat away to us about your background and your mental health advocacy before we launch into the Mickey chat.
Yeah, fair. So I'm Daragh Fleming, I'm from Cork, recently 30, which is a bit traumatizing. I've been, writing my whole life, 4 books published, 5th one's coming out in March. I've been doing mental health work since I was 20, started with a blog called Thoughts Too Big, which is still running 10 years down the line, again, mad. Have a podcast with that. And yeah, basically like the reason I got into any of the writing / mental health work is my best friend took his own life when I was 17. And then I dealt with my own depression after that, because that was like obviously a life-shattering moment. And then once I came out of that depression, I started doing work in mental health, and my theory was that like, right, I don't have a qualification beyond my undergraduate degree in psychology to actually give people therapy. But I thought that like the main issue I saw was that people weren't talking about mental health. We were all very good at encouraging other people to talk about their mental health, but we weren't talking about it. So people would be like, oh, like you can talk to me if you want to, but then they'd never actually talk about their mental health, and it kind of felt like a paradox. So I basically just openly journaled online, talking about anything that affected me in the week previous, once a week for 10 years. And it's just to normalize that conversation so that when big things do come up, such as being sextorted, for example, which is a absolutely horrible experience, that you have the ability to talk about it because you're used to talking about your emotions on like a weekly basis.
Do you find, that's what I was going to ask you, did you find that your experience with mental health like prepares you to deal with this?
I think one of the main things is that like because I think this happens a lot to teenagers and kind of younger adults. Not that I'm like old, but I was in my late 20s. So I think that gave me a little bit of maturity, but equally when it happened, I wasn't like afraid to talk about it. I wasn't like, oh, I have to deal with this on my own, which would make things like infinitely worse, because you'd build things up in your head and it would compound. So I knew straight away just to be like, I need to talk to my family and my friends about this, because this is like, deeply upsetting, and I had a lot of panic and stress around it. So I guess, I hadn't really thought about it, but I suppose from talking about mental health generally so often, it definitely like made it easier to talk about.
How long ago was it now?
This would have been July, August of 2023. So it's not that long ago either. Like, I mean, I was 28. I suppose I'll just get into the story.
Right, start.
So was living back in Cork. Hadn't really been dating, was probably feeling like a bit lonely. So, and like I usually don't have dating apps, so I re-downloaded dating apps. Hinge in particular was the one I was using, and just matched a few people, was talking to different people, whatever, as you do. And then I was talking to this one girl, what was her name? Tracy.
The Irish side.
And
you thought she was Irish?
Yeah, from Cork. Like, and we initially we were just talking on Hinge and just having a conversation, and she's telling me like, the usual, like where she went to school, and she went to UCC and she studied marketing and all this kind of, and we were just having conversation, and it all felt very normal. And she was the slang she used would have been like Cork slang. It looked like came into everything.
So nothing suspicious?
No. And then I suppose like 2 or 3 weeks in to like that, because I generally don't have like notifications on any of my apps. So I kind of kept leaving days pass before messaging. So I was like, come here, do you want to just go on to something else? Because like I'm useless I don't have notifications on. So she was like, yeah, sure, just add me on Snapchat. Which like to me at the time was strange, but not uncommon. I feel like when I was younger, Snapchat was very much the thing you'd use. And I was like, okay, I'm a bit old for using Snapchat to talk to someone, but she was like a couple of years younger than me. So I was like, grand, whatever. So then we started chatting on Snapchat. again, just like her sending selfies, a few videos. And what was weird about this is like in one of the videos she said my name, so like it wasn't like just selfies taken from someone else. Like these were actually being made. Yeah, which is in hindsight terrifying. And then so then we made plans to meet up. Say if it was Friday now, we plan to meet up the next Wednesday, next time we were both available.
Okay.
So that was grand. And then that evening, I suppose with the plans confirmed, she kind of started making a bit more like sexualized, like sending kind of more raunchy pictures. Yeah, raunchy chat, raunchy pictures, all that kind of stuff. And sure, I got involved as well. As we've seen now on TV, which is daft, by the way. So then that was grand. That was Friday night, chatting over the weekend. And then on Monday morning, I woke up to a Snapchat, like a text, blue thing. And I opened it and it said, "Are you ready?"
From her
I
account.
said, "Yeah, are you ready?" And I honestly, like, because I wasn't like suspicious of anything. Like, I thought it was all like, there was no red flags. I thought she was asking me if I was ready for the date.
So did I, to be honest. I would have thought that as well, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, it's Monday. You're a bit eager. Like, today's not till Wednesday." And I was like, "Absolutely, yeah." And then that's when, so she'd used, because on Snapchat, if you screenshot, it tells you.
Yeah.
So she'd use a second phone to take
image.
pictures of the pictures I sent. And then she also sent screenshots of anyone I was friends with on Facebook who had my second name, i.e. the people she thought were my family members. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and she was like, "You have 10 seconds to tell me stop, or I'm going to send these to all these people." And then she's very condescendingly started typing out the numbers like 10, send, 9, send, 8. And I was like, "Stop," obviously. And then she started ringing me on Snapchat, like immediately. And I was like, at this point, like panicking, like deep panic. Like I was freaking the fuck out. I picked up the phone. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, and it wasn't a woman, it was a man. And he was like, "You have really good jobs and good money in Ireland. We don't have that in Nigeria. I want some of that money." And I was like, "Come here. You obviously haven't done your research. Like, writers don't make that much money." And he was like, "Oh, I've seen your LinkedIn. I know you have a job. And
I know you have a job. Fuck's
yeah, really creepy. Like, and I was like, "All right, like, but like, I don't know." And he was like, "You have to send me €2,000 in Bitcoin." And he was like, "Do you have Bitcoin?" And I was like, "I neither have €2,000 or Bitcoin." And then he got angry. He's like, "Why don't you have Bitcoin?" And he started going on then about I had to download some app. And once he started saying that, I hung up with him. He rang me straight back and he was like, "Why did you hang up on me?" And I was like, "Oh, I thought our conversation had ended. Sorry." And he's like, "Okay, just don't hang up on me again." And he started going on about this app again. And I was like, "Look, man, I'm not going to give you money. So if you need to send these pictures, send them. I'll let my mom know they're coming so she doesn't look at them." And I just hung up on him.
You made this decision on like how long? It all happened with this is within like 1 minute, and you said, "Well, fuck it, I'm not sending them."
Yeah,
It's going out anyway. That's it.
Because I knew, like, because I'd read like of certain things online, not just like sextortion, but like a general understanding that if you send the scammer money and they're like, "If you just send me this lump sum, I'll leave you alone." Like, that's never the case. You send them the money and then they ask for more money because they have you on the hook. So I was like, this is just, I'm not going to send money and there's nothing else I can do. So I hung up and I blocked his account. Then he tried to add me on loads of different Snapchat accounts, which were all different girls, which is, again, like, so this was just a big racket, like, and I blocked all of those. Then I rang my mother and I was like, "I can't talk about it now in detail because I'm just really overwhelmed, but if someone sends you a picture message on Facebook and you don't know that person, don't open it because it's probably going to be my penis and you're not going to want to see that." And she was like,
Can I ask now, sorry, the picture, was it, like, was your face in it? Were you identifiable?
I mean, there was more than one picture and my face was in one of them, I think. I can't really remember, to be honest, what picture.
Like, if it was just a picture of a dick, it could have been anybody's dick. Do you know? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I
suppose on my thigh as well, I have like tattoos. So like, even if the thigh was in the background, I mean, not everyone would know they were my tattoos, but like certain people will know. But anyway, I was like, just don't open it. And she was like, okay, fair enough. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just need to calm down and I'll call you back later. In that time, he'd found my Instagram and he'd added me on a few different accounts. I went into my message request and he'd like tried to ring me a few times. And in one of them, he tried to ring me and then he was like, I'll reduce the price to €500. Be a good man, end this with peace. Don't make me ruin your life. And I was like, how are you making this like my fault? Like,
Good quarter, like 3/4 off. Deadly.
I know. I remember I was on, we'll talk about the tweet in a sec. I was on News Talk and I said that. I was like, in fairness, that's a good discount. And that's the same bite they used for all their coverage of it. Like, they were like,
Is that a good discount?
yeah. Like 2,500, that's a good discount. Because
He was just absolutely
suppose, like-
desperate, but yeah, fair enough. He's going to keep asking you.
yeah, exactly. And I just ignored him, blocked all those accounts. And I'd say within like 3 or 4 hours, he stopped messaging and must have moved on to the next person, like, because he knew he wasn't getting anything out of me. And I kept tabs on the family members he'd like signaled out or singled out. And I got onto one of my cousins and I was like, look, this is really embarrassing, but this is after happening to me. Could you let me know? And he was a guy, like, so I was like, could you let me know if someone actually sends you these pictures just so I know that they're being sent, or whether it was just like a empty threat? And they were never sent. But like, again, I didn't know that was going to be the case. So I'd say about an hour or two after, you know, the initial calls, and I was like reeling from panic, I kind of calmed down and I was like, in my head, the worst part of it was that, like, okay, the pictures are out of my hands. I don't have any control over those anymore. But my fear was that like they'd be leaked and I wouldn't know about it, and then they'd be sent around group chats and people would think that I didn't know, and it was kind of like behind my back and all this. So I made the decision to tweet about it, just so people knew that I knew what was going on. And I was like, someone's trying to blackmail me with my nudes for €2,000. Obviously, I'm not going to pay that. So if you see my nudes, enjoy them.
Yeah, I have here. I'm currently being blackmailed by someone who has naked images of me and is asking me for €2,000 in order to prevent them being posted, which I'm obviously not going to do. So if you see images of me somewhere, enjoy them, I guess.
Yeah. And like that, like, and I think like I did consciously make it funny because I was like, at least if people know that I see the humor in it, it kind of disarms everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that the tweet to like blow up. It was more just like self-protection. But then after that, obviously I had the added pressure of like journalists getting onto me, and some of them were really nice, like really lovely. And there was a lot of like, you know, duty of care going on. And those were the journalists I eventually talked to. But some people were just looking at me like a piece of meat. Like I was just a commodity to be used for a story. Like I remember, I'm not going to name them, but like one particular morning TV show in Ireland got onto me and they're like, oh, would you like to come on the show? We think it'd be a great story to be on TV. You'll have a great time. And I was like,
Have a great time.
yeah, read the room. Like I'm having the worst week of my life. And it's easy to laugh about it now, but like honestly, it was
Like you feel safe enough now, I'd say. He's hardly going to send them out now.
yeah, exactly. Like so, and then I talked to some journalists and I tried to bring the humor into it because I was looking at it from like a mental health lens as well. And I know in particular, like teenagers, this happens to, sadly, some of them take their own lives because they really think it's the end of their life. Like they're not going to
Jesus.
come back from something like that.
Yeah.
And I knew, like, you know, and I was in like I suppose a unique position in that I work for myself and I work with mental health charities. So like none of them were going to like, you know, cancel contracts because of something happening to me. Like it wasn't like I did anything cancelable or something like that. It wasn't like something that I did. I was a victim of, you know, sexual assault online. So I knew that was safe. And I was like, look, if I talk about this and show that like, okay, it does suck and there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of panic and stress, but like your life goes on, it'll be fine. That in turn would like help people get through it. And after I went on radio and all that kind of crack, and there was a few TikTok videos, the amount of people who reached out being like, this is happening to me and I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't hear you. This is happening to our son. This is happening to our daughter. this happened to me right now and I paid money. Like loads of different stories, like way more people than I would have imagined, because I suppose before it happened to me, I didn't ever really think about it. But it happens so often.
I never hear about it really. And then I brought this up recently to my stepmom, and then she said that actually one of her friend's son, who is, now I know it happens to everybody obviously, but he was vulnerable, I would say, and he actually just didn't think about it, sent loads of pictures, face in it, quote, totally identifiable, and then they had gotten on to him, but he didn't know what to do, and then the parents, he kind of was acting a bit dodgy to the parents, that the parents knew that something was going on, then eventually had to go through his phone and saw what was going on, brought him down to the Garda station. The Garda said that they get 3 or 4 people in, 3 or 4 fellas in, I think they said, each week, and this was in Tipperary, to basically file a report that they were being scammed. Is it, what do you call it, sexploited?
Yeah, I think sexploitation is a really funny word. It sounds too much fun for what it is. Like, it's just fun to say. It's just like, it's such a marketing word, like, you know, it's like sexploitation. But yeah, like, I mean, sexploitation, scam. I think the official term is intimate image sexual abuse.
Those ads are flat out now lately on the telly. And like, it's great. But you know, the 2 guards are in the Garda station. Did you see it? And then your man is like, I was only just threatening it. Now I know that's like, that it's slightly different because those ads are aimed at real people, like exes and whatever, or just people that you meet online, as opposed to these are scammers in a different country.
Yeah.
I'm going to read out a story here. Now, yours was a Nigerian scammer. I believe that this was more Eastern European scammers here. So actually this fella who shared this story, he's actually a TikToker, but did not want to share it with his voice because he'd be recognized. So he's a bit, I think, he'd be a bit embarrassed about the whole situation, but was happy to share the story. And actually I put this up on my TikTok a while ago. I, male 26, matched with a female 23 on Hinge. She was good looking, but there were some red flags. I ignored it because I'm an idiot and I assumed that people were what they said. First, she said she was from Dublin but living outside and almost every day was in a different place and spoke in semi-broken English. I just assumed she was from a different country and probably travelling around. From the get-go, she was fairly forward, telling me she just wants casual things unless she wanted me to come over and what have you. I'll be honest, my ego took over and I thought she was just really into me. She then said she was taking a shower. Almost every day she told me this, and after 2 or 3 days I picked up that this could be sexual in nature. I'm not great at social awareness. So I said some cheesy response and she said to contact her on Snapchat. I had to re-download Snapchat because I deleted it years ago, but hey, I'll re-download it and to see a sexy lady in the shower. She then wanted pictures of me. I was trying not to send any because I don't like the idea of it and I never sent one before. I know nobody would believe that, but it's true. But I did because, again, hey, a sexy lady in the shower. So I sent 2 pictures and then she wanted one with my eyes. She was very insistent about that and I found it odd, but it's not that weird. Maybe she just likes eyes, I thought. She then said she wanted a full body naked one. I sent one that was as tame as it could have been and she was sending pictures to me too. That's when she said she's getting out of the shower, but to add her on Instagram. Up until that point, I thought this was relatively normal. Again, I'd like to say I'm an idiot. About an hour later, I start getting calls on Snapchat off her. This is when shit hit the fan. I missed her first few because I was making dinner. She texted something like, silly boy, don't miss the next one. So I picked it up expecting the sexy lady. Hello, my friend, a man in a Middle Eastern accent said. Confused, I asked what the fuck is going on. Turns out they recorded everything on Snapchat, found my Instagram followers and were saying they'll send the videos to them all, targeting family members first, unless I give them €1,500. I told them I don't have 1,500. All I had was 500 in my bank, which was the truth because I get paid in cash. They said this can't be true because they target people based on their wealth. I told them if they did, they'd done a very bad job. They hung up when I started panicking like mad. They rang back again. This time it was an Eastern European lady and she told me she needs 1,500 or else everybody on Instagram gets the video. This is when I hit upon a great idea. I started getting really upset and lying. I told them I had a sick son who needed treatment and if they take the money he won't get Christmas presents. Really what I was doing was trying to find out everything I could about them and stall so I could delete contacts and apps. At this stage I didn't know what access they had. So by this stage I had no contacts and unfollowed close family members. I then tried bargaining and got them to 1,000 and said I'll need time to get the money. I rang my mate who's the type of guy you'd ring if you were in jail or in this case being dick pic extortioned. He convinced me to not pay anything and blocked them on everything they could see me on, but kept them on Snapchat as they installed a banking app they told me to. My aim here was to stall them for as long as possible. The money was to be sent to Morocco, but phone area codes were from LA. I assumed it was Belarus because of the mix of Middle Eastern and Russian accents. And the lady on the line kept telling me how she's just doing a job and how she didn't care if I got the money because she gets none of it anyway. And it all goes to the big boss who does nothing and is currently on holiday in Dubai. I think she wanted me to feel sorry for her while attempting to rob me. I stalled for so long, they sent me videos of them sending the video to all of my contacts, one of whom was my mate I was calling, who got nothing. I then messaged people online. Awkward fucking message, I'll tell you that. None of whom got the video. I then messaged people they specifically showed me of them sending messages to, none of whom got anything. So all in all, I didn't have to pay $1,500 for a picture of my own dick. None of my cousins seen it. Again, very awkward conversation. And I've learned to never again take a dick pic. And next time I see a pretty lady, to remember it could be a gang of Russian and Middle Eastern people trying to extort money out of me. I don't know why they didn't send the pictures, because they just knew I didn't have the money or believed the lies I was saying about no Christmas for my imaginary son. So they didn't want to waste their time and moved on to the next poor fool. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, he has a great knowledge of geography as well, to be fair.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean? I didn't get that. That totally went over my head. What did he say? Phone area code was from LA.
But then he assumed they're from Belarus due to the mixture of accents. Like, that's a very fascinating... Like, just basing off my own experience and how much panic I was feeling and how I couldn't think, he was on his game. Like, it was incredible.
Yeah, he did. We have fair play to him. Delete everything. But can I ask, like, say, before you did this, would you have had much knowledge on this situation before? Have you ever heard of it? Like, was it just totally new and you were like, fuck it, this is safe for me to do, I'll just do it?
You know, like, I'd heard of it, but in the context that the ads are in, like, you know, an ex trying to get revenge, that type of thing. But I'd never heard of, like,
Gang.
scam based on it, like, because it's obviously like a scam farm where they're just moving on to the next person if they're not getting money easily, like, and I guess I did think about it afterwards, and it kind of rings true with his as well, where they didn't send the pictures. And my thinking is that, like, the power of it is really in the threat, because say if they threaten 1,000 people and only 3 of them pay or 4 of them pay, but they still leak the pictures of all 1,000 people, and that happens continuously, then we're all going to know, like, multiple people who've had nudes leaked, and the power of the threat goes away and people will stop paying.
No, yeah.
So
I wonder, is that what they're thinking of? Maybe they just can't be arsed.
And also, it's really hard to now. Twitter's different now because you can just post porn on Twitter now. But, like, anything owned by Meta, if you post explicit images, they're taken down immediately.
Yeah.
So they could never post them publicly. It would only ever be through private message. And then, you know, there's barriers to messaging if you don't follow the account and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's actually quite difficult to follow through on the threat.
You got a good bit of victim blaming as well, I've heard.
Yeah, I remember the editor-in-chief of the Irish Medical Times, which is like a weirdly, like, high-profile person to be doing this, was just like openly victim blaming me on Twitter. And sure, I was just taking the piss out of him. Like, he was like, "Why would you send pictures of yourselves like that? That's so stupid." And I was like, "Well, it's because I'm hot, man. That's why I did it." Just like rinsing him. And but he was being really nasty. But, like, people like Sharon Lambert and Ian, who's the CEO of Spun Out, like, were in my corner and just, like, quote tweeting him and getting all their followers to jump on. So, like, there was mostly support, but I guess there's a negativity bias. Whereas, like,
so embarrassing for those kind of people who just want to shit on people. Like, you know that you've made a mistake, and obviously you had the serious fear after it for a long time, and your nerves, like, you paid for it. So why do people feel the need to make it worse?
And even there was people, like, saying that I made it up for clout, and I was like, if I wanted clout, I'd make up something way less stressful than this situation. Like, why would I ever make this up?
Making it up then and then letting people openly judge you for it, like,
yeah, such a weird, just not very well thought out idea of why I did that. But
At the moment, I'm posting these stories from women who are dealing with the same fella who's a scammer, a dating scammer. And there's loads. So basically, like he apparently, like from talking to the women, like they all seem to have like a good head on their shoulders. Like they knew that this was fucking weird, but then like he was saying his card broke in his pocket or it got skimmed and it's been cancelled, and he showed them him transferring money into their accounts, and it all looked very legit. And one girl in particular worked in a bank, and she said, yeah, like I saw him do it. And so it ended up like on each date he would probably get 200 or 300 euro off these women, because they thought that he had paid them back. But every video I put up about it, like women and men, well, it's actually mainly women, I'd say. They're like, God, how can you be so stupid? What kind of women are out here giving men money? And then the men are like, oh, and I can't even get a date. Do you know what? This girl is getting loads and he's scamming with
thousands of euro. Like. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, as well, when I posted it on TikTok, and weirdly, like on Twitter, I just found it surprising that there were women victim blaming, and I was like, if I was a woman, you wouldn't be saying any of this stuff. You know, like there is a kind of a double standard where it's like, oh, men deserve what they get, and you'd be treated as a victim if you're a woman.
Do you think that?
Yeah, obviously not. And it was like, again,
not all women.
Yeah, not all women, but no, in the grand scheme of the comments, like I'd say 97% were like supportive and hoping I was okay and checking in, and then there was just like the outliers were the kind of horrible victim blaming.
You could have done what everybody else did and just said nothing, and then it would happen to somebody else and they would just pay or be petrified or, God forbid, would kill themselves over it if they were thought there was genuinely no way out. But because you made the videos, and fair play to you, you know, people are aware of it and hopefully just won't fucking do it.
Hopefully, anyway, like Annalise Kennedy's documentary about scamming. But like it comes up, and like it's not that I don't want to talk about it, but I also don't want to, because I'm, you know, a writer as well, and I don't want me to be associated with this for the rest of my life, or people only asking me to do things because of that. But at the same time, like in terms of the mental health work, I just thought it was like important to talk about, even though it was like, it's embarrassing and it was deeply uncomfortable to be that public that soon after. But I was like, you know, taking myself out of the equation, this will do more good than bad if I talk about it, because as you said, hopefully it'll help someone get through a similar situation, or ideally avoid it altogether.
Have you deleted the apps now?
I did. I think I have Hinge. I have Raya as well. I got invited to join Raya. I was just interested in see what that's about, but it's much of the same. I don't really use them. No, like I'd say different people. So like some people I've seen, I was like, I saw this girl on Tinder, but like, yeah, more kind of like influencery people, which wouldn't really be my
celebs.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my bag really anyway. So, but yeah, still like notifications off. I don't really use them. I'm just couldn't be arsed really, like.
And you're in Barcelona now.
And yeah, it's great. Like it's, as we were saying beforehand, like just nice to be here. And I do come back to Ireland quite a bit, and it's not too far away. It's a 2-hour flight. I can fly straight to Cork, so it's handy.
But dating's not really a priority. You're just kind of, this is just something that you just, you know, download the app and have a crack at it, and then kind of whatever.
Yeah, like I think I am, like ironically, even though I got scammed for nudes, I do prefer meeting people in real life, because I find like, you know, when you're going, like obviously you've been talking to someone on Tinder or whatever, and you set up a date, like you're going in without any real connection. Whereas say if you meet someone on a night out and you're like, oh, that person's really cool, and then you set up a date and it's like, well, I know who I'm meeting today, or what their personality is like. So I definitely prefer that. There's just I don't know, there's an added layer of like, or maybe a lack of connection and an added layer of like superficiality. And then in Barcelona in particular, it's a very casual city. Like it's kind of hard to get anyone who's interested in something like monogamous and long term. It's pretty casual.
Oh my God, what? Really? Yeah. I didn't know that's where you were going with that. Oh, right. Okay. That's interesting. But a lot of people, they're all meeting each other in real life over there, are they?
I mean, no, I imagine no. People are definitely using apps as well, but it's like people are more like outgoing, I guess, because like the Irish disposition, especially for lads, I suppose, is like be in a bar with women and never talk to them. That's
Well, like,
kind of them.
I think like that's due to COVID. Like beforehand, I got all of my boyfriends, I think, through nightclubs or like the pub and nightclub.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, that just was not happening anymore. I actually I'm going out with my boyfriend now a year and met him through the Dating Orange Instagram page in the end.
No, I have met a few people that I've dated for like, a couple of months here and there through like, yeah, them sliding into my DMs or like them seeing TikToks, that kind of stuff. Which is interesting. When I started doing TikTok, I never really thought of it as a place to find dates. But
Do you have any funky date stories to share with us?
I mean, I don't know if you saw the story about the Venezuelan doctor.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
so this
Deadly.
this was kind of a running series of videos during the summer. So I went on a date with a Venezuelan doctor. She was beautiful. Um, didn't have much English, and my Spanish is terrible. But her English was better than my Spanish, so we made it work. It was touch and go, but we made it work. And we ended up hanging out for like, when we initially met, we were just gonna go for coffee and see how we got on with the language. But we ended up getting on really well. So we spent like 7 or 8 hours together and got dinner that night. And she was getting cold, and I was wearing like a t-shirt with like a kind of heavy shirt over it. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not cold. You can just wear the shirt, whatever." And she was like, "Oh, I really like this shirt." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a nice shirt." And then she ended up going home, and I was like, "I'll just take the shirt and give it back to me next time we meet, whatever." And then about a week later, we were meant to meet up again. And at the end of the date and a few days after, she was like really into me. But then I think that started fading, and her previous kind of hesitancy because of the language started coming up again. She was like, "Look, you're really nice, had a great time, but the language thing is just, it's too difficult." And I was like, "Fair." I was like, "Yeah, fair enough, totally understand. It was really nice to meet you." And then I was like, "Also, would I be able to get my shirt back? Because like we'd only got on one date, so like, I'd like my shirt back." And she's like, "Oh my god, I completely forgot. Yeah, no problem." And then I spent the summer chasing this woman via text, being like, "Oh, let me know if you're in the city this weekend. I can get my shirt back off you." And she had loads of excuses and eventually just stopped replying to me. And I never got my shirt back.
Oh my God. Where was the
Yeah,
shirt
like,
from? It better be in the good one for the amount of
no,
effort that you went to.
honestly, like, no, I think it was H&M, but I know my mother bought it for me. And I really liked the shirt. It was more like principle. I was like, we've only spent 8 hours together. You do not deserve to own my shirt. And yeah, she kept making one weekend. She was like, "Oh, I'm coming to Barcelona on Saturday," and I was like, "Oh, Grant, can you bring my shirt?" So, and she was, because she lives a bit outside the city, not too far, and she was like, "Oh, well, I'm going running in Barcelona, and I'm not going to run in your shirt." And I was like, "Okay, but you're the one who texted me saying you're coming to Barcelona, but you're not going to bring my like all this kind of weird stuff." And then, yeah, a few times after, I think in August, I text her like maybe like once every 2 weeks or so, being like, "Hey, just, at this point, post it to me. Like, I don't care. I'll pay for the postage. Just send me my shirt." And she just never
I bet
replied.
she was telling all her friends that you were a fucking weirdo. Why doesn't this fella leave me alone? Like, no, I'd be the same. When I was like 17, I was walking back from a house party with this fella, and he was dropping me to my house on his walk, and he had a substantial walk to go to his house. So I went in and I got him. This was big American Eagle time, right? So I gave him my favorite American Eagle hoodie, and he was hanging around town for the weekend, and I was like, "It's grand, I'll get it off you around the weekend." I sent him multiple messages. He was like, "Yeah, no bother, I'll be in town." And then I even got my friends to text him. I was obsessed. But I say I must have made 8 attempts, and in the end I just fucking said R.I.P. to my American Eagle hoodie.
And yeah, American Eagle was expensive and really popular, so I understand the commitment to that. But like I'd say my shirt cost, I don't know, €30. It was like a green cord thing, but it was more the principle. I was like, "You do not get to keep this. Like, I'm sorry, not a chance."
No, I know that would have, yeah, I know, I guess it would wreck my head, yeah.
But yeah, that was weird. Other than that, like, not much weird dating stories. I get a lot of I don't know why this is, but TikTok is more so than anywhere else, but it happens on Instagram too. The internet just assumes I'm gay.
Oh,
I think the only thing I can think of is because I'm a man talking about my emotions and doing poetry, and people are like, "There's no way a straight man can do this." Um, I get lots and lots and lots of DMs from gay men looking for hookups and dates and stuff, and some of them are really sweet, some of them are really really nice, and some of them are just like. I remember I got one time, and it was just the word threesome ? And I was like, "This is what women have to deal with all the time, just men being men." Like,
that's gas. I don't think I would never. I wouldn't say you give off any sort of a gay vibe at all.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, like when it happens, I'm like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. It doesn't really like. It doesn't like.
Do the fellas be like, "Oh, I thought you were gay. Sorry." Do you know?
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
Yeah, they'll be asking me. They kind of start off quite smooth. They're like, "Oh, I really like the last poem, whatever," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks very much." And they're like, "Do you use dating apps?" And I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, maybe like Hinge and Tinder and stuff." And then they're just like, "What about Grindr?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm not gay, so I wouldn't use that." And they're like, "Oh, that's a shame." I'm trying to like. One guy one time was like, "Oh, well, if you ever change your mind, I'd love to take you for a drink." And I was like, "I don't think this is something I can change my mind about. I don't think I have control over that."
And I saw that I was Googling Daragh Fleming before this, and I see that you have a troll. Is it that's coming after you all the time? What is the crack with
To be
that?
fair, ever since that, was that on News Talk maybe? Ever since I did that interview, they've disappeared.
Stopped. And that was because you were sticking up for women. There was something going on at that time. And
Yeah, so the initial thing was like, yeah, I tried to basically, because there was like a woman got like murdered, which is awful. And then, but there was, and then there's the discourse where like people are very angry, and then men are being like, but it's not all men, which is like deeply unhelpful. And I just like wrote an analogy being like, if you got bitten by a dog one time, you of course would know that not all dogs will bite you, but you'd be wary of every dog you pass in case it does. Like that's basically the premise of why women are afraid of men. Super simple. And then, yeah, this one person, girl from Cork, was just really angry because that tweet went viral, and she was like, "Oh, we're in the middle of like a women's issue, and this man is like taking over the conversation and making it about him." And I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Like,
women also give out about men who don't stand up against other
yeah,
men.
it's like
where are
so
the good
willing.
men? You know, you can't. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then and that was like, Jesus, that was 2020, and then it was just like for several years, just like, yeah, just trolling me and being horrible and
Making new accounts.
Yeah.
You're blocking them if they were.
yeah, or then like the reason I find out is because like maybe another tweet went viral. It could have been around the time of the sextortion thing actually, and I noticed that like anyone who said something horrible to me, her real account liked all those tweets. And I was like,
all right.
going on? And then I like look, and I found out there was like links between her and a load of these like burner accounts, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and I'd never like met this person. I didn't like, she's a real person. I like, because I have friends who know her, and I was asking about
Oh my
her.
God, what?
Yeah,
Friends that know her.
yeah,
What a fucking weirdo, like.
yeah, terrifying.
People
But I think as I got older, I used to like take it very like, I'd be very angry and be like, these are all losers. Like, but as I got older, I kind of realized like these people are just, especially someone like that who's like like a verified real person, obviously dealing with a lot of like pain and unhappiness, and is like projecting and making other people feel bad as a result of that. Because like I remember when I found out, I went onto her Twitter page, which is gone now. I think she got booted from Twitter, but all her tweets were just these like toxic, horrible, just giving people shit all day, every day on Twitter. And I was like, that can't be a good way to live. Like, and I felt really bad for her.
must have some serious issues themselves and hate their own lives that they feel they need to go on and shit on everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
No, wise words. It is a good way to look at it.
But sometimes they just say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and you're just, yeah,
Fuck.
the anger comes like
Yeah, like I was saying, that fucking ice skating video where I'm just slagging my boyfriend. Like he slags me over not being able to dance. Like every time we are in a dancing situation, like, look, Grant, I put up one video slagging him over his ice skating, and I get absolutely destroyed. I keep showing him the messages that I'm getting, and he just can't. He's not that big into social media like I am. He can't understand this, that the people are reacting this kind of way. But I'm making a point like not to take down the video, because I'm like,
oh, definitely don't. Like, if anyone is in the position to be allowed to take the piss out of him, it is his girlfriend. Like, you're allowed to do that.
Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Daragh. That was very insightful, and hopefully people will listen to this now and, think twice about
sending dick pics.
Sending any dick pics.